It's a Batman cup. It has coffee inside. Hey guys, it's Michael, and today I'm here to do my Booktubeathon 14. No, wait, stop, pause. It's not Booktubeathon. It's Boutofbooks Readathon 14. Yes, there it is. Okay, so yeah, I decided to film here because I'm liking the lighting right now. I read $5. Yeah. It was really good, actually. I felt like I could have read more, but the problem that I always have with readathons is that some of them happens during the weekend, and most of the time that's when my family comes over, and so I'm really not reading. I'm basically watching anime the whole time. The first book that I read was Out Stealing Horses by Per Peterson, translated by Anne Bourne. This is a book from Norway, and it's about this guy named Trond, and I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right, I don't even know, but it actually starts from the end and then, well, it starts towards the end and goes back and forth, actually jumbled up. It's not organized in a straight, narrow plot. The writing on this is amazing. I really like the writing. It's really sparse and quick and short. Now it does get confusing because when you try to organize the timeline, essentially, it can get really confusing because I was like, wait, so how did this happen? But then as I'm questioning how did this happen, a few pages later on, when it does go back again, it kind of does explain why something is something. If that makes any sense. The thing about this though is, so there is this one part in here, because since it's starting towards the end, and he's a much older person, you can kind of, I was like, oh okay, that person is kind of that person, like you can kind of see where it's going, but there is a revelation when they tell you something on why something happens, and I wasn't really like I wasn't shocked, I was just more like, oh, okay, like, it was okay, it was okay, it was good. The writing's probably the best thing about it. See, this is the part where translation, for me, can be really iffy, and I'll talk more about it in one of the books. For me anyways, when it's not written in English, since the other language is not my native language, translating can be really difficult. It's definitely an art form, that's for sure, but this book, I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars out of 5. The next book that I read was Baboon. I think that's how you pronounce it normally, but it's translated as Baboon by, hold on, wait. Let me look up how to pronounce this name. I just looked it up because I wanted to make sure I pronounced it correctly. Yes, her name is Naya Marie Eitz. Yes, it's translated by Denise Newman. Okay, so this is a collection of short stories. It really does vary. I felt like the main thread that connects all of these anyways were more about relationships per se, unexpected relationships. The main themes of all the short stories is essentially that I think I know you, but I don't. Because some of these stories take a complete left. I was like, what the heck? It was really interesting to read. I'm not the biggest fans of short stories collections. I'd rather read them like separately, and that's just a personal thing for me because I always feel like when I'm reading a short story collection, I feel like the book is much longer than what it is, so I don't tend to get enthusiastic about it. There's only a few short stories that I've ever encountered that I've really enjoyed. There are a few stands out from this collection though. One of them is, of course, the main title, Baboon. I was like, why is that the title? And it's because the cover is beautiful with this blown up flower thingy, but I was like, what? Like a baboon, like an animal? And when the story does happen, it's the last one in the collection. I really enjoyed it actually. It was really interesting. The writing on here is weird because it does this thing where it's really unexpected. Like since the story is really, since a lot of these take like a really left turn, the writing, some of the way that things are described and things are mentioned, it's really bizarre, like it's in your face also. The other story that I enjoyed on here was called Conference. This one was really interesting. It happens during a conference and this girl is basically imagining things I really liked it actually. I thought it was like, oh, okay. But yes, overall I enjoyed this collection. I gave it 3.5 out of 5. The next book that I read was really weird, and it's my second book from this author, and that's the Windup Bird Chronicle by Haruki Murakami, translated by Jay Rubin, narrated, I listened to it on audiobook, by Rupert Degas. This book was so weird. Now I can understand why people really like Murakami, because the first one that I read by him was the colorless one. Yeah, that one. I'll put a picture here. That's the one I read first by him, and this is my second book by him. He does have similar themes now, because people always talk about spaghetti, cats, and swimming whenever people talk about him, and then weird stuff happening, and all of that happened in this book. Yeah, it's about this guy named Okada, Toru Okada, who loses his cat and goes looking for it, and then now I really see why people have trouble explaining plots to his story, because it was really weird. If you watch my vlog, you know how I feel about it. Like, the feeling that this book gives me is like, ooh. This book was like everywhere. It was just everywhere, and at the same time, it was telling a cohesive story, which was weird. And I think it might be due to the way he's constructing this plot. Like, it just seems like random stuff just keeps happening, and then when things starts to get explained, I was like, oh. Now, this book is split up into 3 books. I felt like the third book wasn't as great as the first two. Like, the first 2 books, I was like, oh my gosh. The audiobook on here is so long, and usually when audiobooks are really long, I can come out like I'm starting to lose interest after like the 15th hour, but this one, or like the 10th hour around their section, but this one was just really good. I just kept wanting to listen to it. I think the last part is kind of where it starts to fall off, but the first 2 parts is really great. And my favorite part about this is definitely the way that prostitution works in this book. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Now, that idea of, I don't know if this is a spoiler or not. I don't think it's a spoiler. It might be a spoiler. It might be a mild spoiler, but the way that the prostitution works in this book is essentially like a mind prostitution. Like, they go into your dreams. That's the way I got it. Like, it goes into your dreams, like your subconscious, but it's actually like you actually feel it kind of thing. Now, I've never seen Ghost in a Shell before, but when I was talking to my coworker about this book, cause she read the colorless book, and I was like, yeah, it's like a mind prostitution. She's like, oh, so you mean like Ghost in the Shell? I was like, I never seen Ghost in the Shell. I might want to see it now, because I thought that part was cool. I was like, whoa, like, I just never seen that before, so I thought that was cool. So yes, I really enjoyed the book. I gave it 4.5 out of 5. I really liked it. I'm definitely gonna read more of his books. Hold on, my camera battery's dying. Let me go get my other one. Thank goodness I have a second battery. Alright, this battery is fully charged. Let's continue! The next book that I read was The Hen Who Dreamed She Could Fly by Sun Mi Wang, translated by Kim Chi Young, narrated by Jill Larson. This is a book from South Korea. It's kind of like fable-ish. Someone described it like on the blurb. It's like a Korean version of Charlotte's Web, and it kind of was actually. Like, it was a Korean Charlotte's Web. That's the best way I can explain it. But instead of a pig, we have a hen. And this book is about the hen whose name is Sprout, who basically wants to fly. She's really different from the other hens around her. And then she discovers this duckling, and she takes care of it. And then, yeah, that's about it. Like, I don't think I have that much to say about it, because not a lot happens essentially, but it was just a really good, like, I really enjoyed it. Like, I didn't think it was mind-blowing or like bad. I think I was like, oh, okay. Like, I felt no type of way about the book. So I gave it 3 out of 5 because it was literally like just in the middle. So yeah. All right. The next book that I read, oh my gosh, okay, so I gotta talk about this book because I really liked it. Los Ingrávidos, but the English title translation is Faces in the Crowd by Valeria Lucelli. It's literally Lucelli or Lucei. Lucelli, I think. Yeah, translated from the Spanish by Christina McSweeney. Yes. Oh my god, this book. I wanted to read this book because, as you know, August is Women in Translation Month, and so I've been wanting to read some more books from other countries by women translated into English. This book was really weird, but in the best way possible, and it was confusing, really confusing in the best way possible. We have, okay, so I'm gonna try to explain this to you, and once I try to explain it to you, hopefully you'll like it enough and go seek it out, because I think it's a book really to talk about because it has a lot going on. Okay, I'm gonna try to explain to you the plot of this because it can get really confusing. So I have notes, okay? I have notes. I wrote notes down because I wanted to explain to you guys how I really like this story. Okay, so we have a mom here who is living in Mexico City, okay? Mom. Gotcha. And then we have a translator who is who's translating from the Spanish of this poetry of this poet called Gilberto Owen, okay? Now also the third character in this is Gilberto Owen himself. So you have these three characters and it basically goes back and forth, like it's constantly switching between these three characters. Okay, here we go. So this book, I was confused the whole time. It was weird. Okay, so the translator, she's translating. Now granted, personally, I don't think she was the best translator because there was this part where it got split up between her and her coworker, and her coworker seemed like that coworker was he was translating it better than her. It was weird. Now this book is broken up into like paragraphs. Some of the paragraphs are really short, some of them are a little bit longer, and this is when the story goes back and forth between all of these characters. Now the part that gets really confusing is that they start to intersect with each other. I'm not gonna spoil how they intersect, but I was confused, but at the same time, I know I keep saying confused, but I really was confused. But I just kept reading, I just kept wanting to read it because I knew I was really liking it, and that's because of the writing. I really liked the writing. The part that really confused me of this was because the mom, or was it the translator? Oh my gosh, see, I'm confused now! The translator is like writing this fiction story about Owen, but then at the same time, since you're getting Owen's perspective, you're like, okay, this is not lie, this is truth, this is lie. And then the thing with the mom is her relationship with her husband, who is moving to Philadelphia, but that part got confusing too. It's really hard. This book is really hard to explain the way they interweb with each other. It's like, because at some point, literally, it starts to become like the story within a story within a story, but then you're going back out again, but then you go into another story within another story within another story. I know, it can get really confusing, but I thought it was just really good. And there's this part where she talks about writing a horizontal versus a vertical like story, and how those two types of storytelling can intersect. Oh yeah, it's a really interesting read. I say give it a shot. It got me really thinking, but at the same time, even though I was confused for probably like 25% of the time because of certain characters and things would like, I was like, wait, what? Like how, what? Like, it was a good confuse, and I really liked it. It's definitely a memorable story, and I just really liked it. The writing is really good too. So yeah, I gave that 4 out of 5. I did not do a good job of explaining that. So yeah. Alright, the last, oh, that was the last book! Oh, that's it! Okay, the other books that I wrote some other stuff on here, and those are afterwards. During those weeks of the readathon, I literally just tried to read as much as I can, but since the Windup Bird Chronicle was so long, that's what really killed it for me. That was a long audiobook. So yeah, if you read any of these books before, probably none of y'all have, let me know what you think, and then I'll see you guys till later. Bye!